Good morning. Chapter 13, Lesson 2 is on page 583, and we're going to get into solving quadratics, So we're going to have to remember we can square both sides, or we can take the square root of both sides of an equation when we're trying to solve quadratics. We'll get to the quadratic formula a little bit later on. Number 27, we're looking at y minus 5 quantity squared is equal to 20, so I bet what we can do is we can take the square root of both sides, and that will give us on the left side, remember the square root of something squared is just that thing squared, so it turns out to be y minus 5, and that's equal to, and I'm going to just work over here and say 20 is equal to the square root of 4 times the square root of 5, which turns out to be 2 times the square root of 5. So I'm going to say y minus 5 is 2 times the square root of 5. Let's solve for y by adding 5 to both sides. So our final solution for this problem turns out to be not so bad. 2 times the square root of 5 plus 5. There's our answer. Not so bad. Let's move on to something like number 49. This happens to be that equation on page 584. I guess I should fix this. This is on page 584. And it talks about, let me just read it. The amount P is invested at interest rate R compounded annually and grows to the amount A in 2 years. Find the interest rate. So they give us the formula. The area is equal to P times the quantity of 1 plus R to the T. And this is a problem written for 2 years worth of interest. So we have our information here. So what we can do is we could perhaps simplify this equation. We could say if we divide both sides by P, we would end up with A divided by P is equal to 1 plus R squared. And what we can do even further is we can take the square root of both sides, which would give us the square root of A divided by P. Turns out to be just 1 plus R because I'm taking the square root of both sides. You remember the square root of R squared is just R. So when we take the square root of 1 plus R squared, we just get 1 plus R. So now we can plug in some stuff. And A turns out to be 1232.10, and P turns out to be 1000. And so what we do is we take the square root of that, and that turns out to be 1 plus R. Well, if you do that on a calculator, this turns out to be 1.110 equals 1 plus R. Again, 1232.1 divided by 1000, take the square root. And then finally, if we just subtract 1 from both sides, our answer for R turns out to be 0.110, or the rate of return turned out to be 11%. Either of these two answers was correct for number 49. Thanks so much. See you all tomorrow.